Paducah resident Kevin Comer wants some accountability for local flash flooding because he's seen it get worse and worse over the last few years. Bill Hughes has his story and a city's official response.
Comer recently told the Greg Dunker Show that the property where he and a friend live on Deer Lick Place has flooded 34 times in the last 21 years, with water inside it 8 times. The last flood was July 7th. Comer said he had 1 to 2 feet of water flowing through the home. He went to the city commission meeting along with other flood victims, but said he got no help. He said construction of large churches, college buildings, and businesses in the Crooked Creek area have covered ground with asphalt, so water now runs toward his neighborhood.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that ground's no longer absorbing water. It's running off, and it has to go somewhere. And right now, it's all being funneled in our direction.
Comer's home is flooded so often he doesn't have carpet, flooring, or kitchen cabinets because he knows they'll be ruined again. Paducah City Engineer and Public Works Director Rick Murphy said the city understands citizens' concerns, but new construction isn't to blame. He explained that for every development over 10,000 square feet, current law requires each builder to compensate for the increase in runoff, restricting its flow to keep the creek at the same level. Murphy said based on what he and others have seen and their calculations, the systems are handling water as they were designed.
I know that's hard for people to understand as their belongings are being flooded, but it is factually correct, and I'm just trying to provide compassion with factually correct information.
We'll have more on Comer's situation and one of Rick Murphy's possible causes for the problem as this story continues tomorrow. I'm Bill Hughes.
In part 2 of his story on local flash flooding, Bill Hughes spoke to Paducah resident Kevin Comer and a city engineer who give possible reasons for the problem in an area near Pecan Drive and I-24.
Comer told the Greg Dunker Show that unrestrained development in the Crooked Creek area has covered ground with asphalt, causing his neighborhood and others to flood regularly. Comer said the city's responsible for protecting property, and that should include slowing development and making sure codes are up to date so stormwater has somewhere to go.
They're saying, well, our building codes are to spec. Well, no, they're not, because people's homes are being flooded. Now, if their homes were being flooded, I'm sure they'd do something about it. Our homes are being flooded. They're going home to their nice warm beds at night with no problem. They're not concerned about that.
City engineer Rick Murphy said each construction project has to compensate for increased runoff they create, and several factors could contribute to creeks flooding, including debris that can accumulate, creating a dam. This can happen naturally or because property owners give in to temptation to throw leaves or limbs into the creek.
You get 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 people in a neighborhood of 100 houses, it don't take very long for that material to get washed downstream and get lodged on something that creates a problem for everybody. Do I have evidences of that? Yes, I do. Do I know where it came from? No, I don't.
Murphy said in most cases, the city doesn't have easements for creeks, so they must be maintained by property owners. The city can only step in and threaten to issue a fine if someone neglects their property. We'll have Comer's suggestion on what should be done and a response from Murphy tomorrow. I'm Bill Hughes.
Paducah resident Kevin Comer says local flash flooding keeps getting worse, and some local leaders don't deserve their jobs since they won't do anything about it. Here's Bill Hughes with the final installment of a 3-part series.
Comer told the Greg Dunker Show that unrestrained development in the Crooked Creek area has covered ground with asphalt, causing his neighborhood and others to flood regularly, and the city isn't taking responsibility for the problem. City engineer Rick Murphy said new builders must meet legal codes for runoff, and the city doesn't have easements for most properties, so creeks must be maintained by landowners. He also said some flash flooding could be caused by debris that falls into creeks or is thrown into them by residents. Comer said he wants to see all development in the area stop, building codes upgraded, and money found that can be spent on flood mitigation instead of some of the city's current projects. He also believes different leadership is needed, especially the mayor and city engineer.
These people need to be removed, forbidden from holding any such positions where they are ever responsible for anyone else's life, property, or safety. They are completely incompetent and negligent. We need real engineers in here and real leadership that can look at this problem and start to correct things.
Murphy didn't address that comment, but said the city has to be very diligent and conservative in their response because of financial constraints.
The city's coffers may not be sufficient to respond to things because what we do, we have to be willing to do for the entire community.
Murphy said their immediate action was to ask for federal disaster aid to help city residents, but it was denied. I'm Bill Hughes.